Hello and welcome everybody. And today's webinar is slightly different from many of us because once again, this is an action one. And I'm very pleased to introduce Rachel, who will make a much better job of introducing herself than I can. But Rachel has got thousands and thousands, if not millions of viewers on her YouTube channel around Pilates. And today we're going to look at how Pilates can help you with chronic health conditions. And Rachel, I'll finish chatting in a moment, but I do feel that people think, no, Pilates is really good, but you know, I've got these issues, conditions, I can't move, I might have fibromyalgia, I might have arthritis. Is it really available to me? And I know that's something that you're passionate about by saying Pilates is available to everybody. So this is relevant to everybody in our Talk Health membership audience and elsewhere. So welcome, Rachel, and please tell our members a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much. My name's Rachel Lawrence. So I have a YouTube channel called The Girl with the Pilates Mat. And my background is I'm 58 years old, nearly 59. And I've been practicing Pilates for about 25 years. And I've been teaching it for 13. So for the first sort of 10, 12 years, I was just doing it for my own health and well-being. I got into it because I'd had quite a bad back injury when I was working in a previous career. And it had got to the point where my back had completely locked up. I had to get an osteopath out to help me get out of bed. And it was pretty grim, to be honest. And this was over in New York. Sounds very glamorous, but I was there working as a journalist. And they'd said to me, have you ever tried Pilates? That would be really, really good for your back. I didn't really know anything about it. So we're going back to the year, 2009, 2010, something like that. Actually, no, I tell a lie. Sorry, I'm getting my dates mixed up. It was 2000 when I started Pilates in New York. Anyway, long story short was I started doing it, and literally within 2 sessions, I could feel that tension in my back releasing and starting to feel more mobile and much better. And at the time I was working as a journalist and a filmmaker. So I was spending a lot of time in a kind of quite a fixed position, a lot of tension in my neck and in my shoulders and my back, carrying really heavy weights. And it was just really, really tough. So I started practicing it, and then I really got into it because it is a real, it's a wonderful form of movement because there's so much technique involved, but also it's a lot of it is about the mind and the body coming together to kind of bring out the best in your own body, whatever situation your body's in. I promise you, Pilates can really help you feel much better in mind and body. Anyway, let's skip forward. I ended up in 2010 going out to Los Angeles to train with one of the top Pilates masters in the world. He's written many, many books, and I trained with him, and also a female Pilates master who's wonderful. She works at California State University. And I did a very intensive training period, which involves studying anatomy, learning all about the spine and the muscles and the core and where they are and what they are and how they move your body. I then went into the physical side of the training, and I learned Pilates. So I learned the mat work, but I also learned all the equipment. And so where I'm at now is I am 13 years down the line from that. I do Pilates every day. I recommend everyone try and do at least 10 minutes a day just to get yourself mobile and flexible. So that was a very long description, but that's kind of my background. And I guess I kind of decided when I was doing my training, the reason I did it was because I started out in life as a dancer. So I always wanted to dance. I was like many girls who went to ballet classes when they were 3 or 4 years old. And I trained in dance all the way up until I was 18. I went and worked professionally, and then I got an injury on stage in my knee, which meant I couldn't really dance anymore. That's how I ended up in journalism, because I thought, well, I can't do this. I'm going to have to do something else. And I honestly thought, as I was told at the time, I would never be able to dance again. And what I can tell you is, having done my Pilates and having really stuck with the regime, I go to ballet classes now as a 58-year-old and I don't have any problems at all. So that to me is the power of Pilates.
And I think you made a very good point, is that lots of people don't realise, especially sitting at a desk all day, you don't realise over time what damage that does to you unless you pull yourself back, etc. And so I'd be very interested, you know, I know we are going to cover some back exercises to show how you can quickly relieve it. And if, as you said, if you do it on a regular basis, really makes a difference, that what you may not have even realized there was a problem there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the way I would describe it is that if you think about us, we are an animal, so we weren't meant to be sitting in a chair all day long. We were meant to move. And so with any exercise, with any kind of job or chronic conditions as well, people tend to be seated for a lot of the time. So when you're seated, what happens is you're tightening up in the front of your body because your knees are permanently in this position in a chair. You'll often find if you're on a computer, you're starting to come forward and become more rounded and take your head forward. And all of that on a long-term basis will really affect how your body moves. So you get much tighter in the chest, and the minute your shoulders come forward, we tend to lift here as well if we get tense. So you get neck ache, headaches, kind of tension headaches, all that sort of thing. And so with Pilates, the way I like to describe it is, it's a really good body conditioning form of exercise. It doesn't overwork any part of your body. It tries to work, or it does work through the whole of the body, and it does in equal measure strengthening work and flexibility. And to feel good in your body, you need both those things. You don't want to be just strong. So if you look at, say, a man that goes around lifting really, really heavy weights and they're big and muscly, they're strong, but they have no flexibility, which means if they went to do something suddenly, they could easily get injured because their muscles have not got that flexibility in them. And equally, somebody who just does flexibility, just stretches, they haven't got the strength. And Pilates is an equal amount of both. And that's why I believe it really, really works well for the body. And in terms of sort of conditions and chronic conditions, Pilates is very, very good for pain management. Now, whether that comes from you just being seated at a desk for a long time and feeling a bit achy in your back, or whether it comes from a chronic condition like fibromyalgia or rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis, it can really, really help you because it's low impact. So there's no sudden movements. It's very controlled. It's very precise. And that gives you the time to work out here what you want to be happening in your body when you do the movement. I was wondering, shall I demonstrate that and show you kind of what I mean by that? So I'm just going to whip my shoes off and just go back to the mat. So for example, one of the first exercises you would learn in Pilates is lying down on the floor, finding a neutral position. So neutral, just to let you know, my dog's here, so my dog might wander in. So I've got a neutral position. So that's the hip bones and the pubic bone. What we try and do is align those three bones. Sounds really strange, but you can try it on yourself standing, or you can do it lying down. And the idea is that then shows, you'll see with me, the natural shape of my spine. You can see the curve, and we're all going to be different. And what we do is we take a breath in, and on the out breath, we pull the abdominals inwards towards the spine, and then we add a tilt at the pelvis. And all this is doing is just stretching your lower back, and it's also making you use your core muscles. And then you take it back. It's a really simple movement, but lots of people will kind of arch and tip back. And what we're trying to do is do it with control. So you feel the muscles pull in first, you then add the movement. And as you progress, you then take the movement up in the air. So we call this the pelvic curl, where you're working through the whole of the spine, lifting up. You then take a breath in. You breathe out and you slowly come all the way down through the spine and back onto your mat. Now that looks like quite a simple movement, but the idea with that movement is you are articulating the spine, meaning you are working through each and every vertebra, and there's 33 in your spine, and we're trying to get movement in all of them. Because what happens when you've got arthritis, or if you're someone that just spends a lot of time at the desk, you'll tend to get a bit locked up in your back. So there'll be parts of your vertebrae, your spine, that are not moving as well as they might. So we do a lot of work with the spine in Pilates. Just going to get my dog. Do you mind if I just get my dog's bed? I'm just going to do it. Sorry, but she likes to sit in the sunshine. And there you go. You sit down there. There we go. She often takes part in my YouTube videos.
Well, isn't it funny, because you do see people doing it, isn't it? Yoga or Pilates with goats and all of those sort of things, aren't they, that are really popular? Actually, that mentioning yoga, which is what I meant to ask earlier, and we'll go back to what you've just done, but what is the difference? Is there a fundamental difference between Pilates and yoga?
Yes, there is. Now, I would say before I go into that, that Joseph Pilates, whose Pilates is named after, he did do yoga, and you can see that there are some movements in Pilates that are quite similar. But the fundamental difference in Pilates is we work with the spine. So everything comes from the movement of the spine and the core, and that's what I would say is the fundamental difference. So our focus is quite anatomical. It's thinking about how my spine is moving. So your spine can move in all sorts of directions, right? We can go, I'll try and remember them all for you today. So there's flexion, that's going forward. There's extension, that's going back. Then there's lateral flexion, which is going side to side. There's rotation. Okay, and then there's also axial elongation, which is a sense, it's a really harder one to find, but it's about the spine elongating, like so, which again is where you see a lot of Pilates people have got great posture, because we work all the spinal muscles. So when we talk about the core, lots of people think the core is just your abdominals, and it's not. The core is all the muscles that support your trunk. Okay, so that's everything connected to the spine and around the spine, and that is our key focus in Pilates, is the core and the movement of the spine. And I would say that is the fundamental difference.
Oh no, that's it. I'd never kind of realized it was specifically the back. And I think what, going back to the demonstration you did just then, is that unless you've actually done that yourself and tried, one is never aware of your body unless somebody instructs you or takes you through to think about various parts of your body.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the things I really love about Pilates, and why it's so good for people who've got chronic conditions, is it's not a competitive form of exercise. It's low impact, and it really does focus on helping you, if you've got the right teacher, helping you understand your own body, and then working out how to adapt the exercise to you. So for example, when I teach on YouTube, although I can't see people because I've been teaching for 12 years, I pretty much feel I've seen every sort of body, every sort of movement pattern, and there are very common movement patterns with certain forms of arthritis and stuff like that. So I give verbal cues to help the person doing the movement understand. So for example, just check where your hip bones are. Is one higher than the other? If so, try and get them at the same level. Because what we do in Pilates, when we're one-on-one with someone, we're constantly helping realign. There's a lot of alignment that goes on in Pilates. And the idea is that we are all tend to be stronger on one side of the body than the other. If you have chronic pain, your body will be in a certain position because pain tends to make the body react. And it may be that you're tense in your shoulders, or it may be you're tense in your hips. And so we do a lot of kind of careful work to cue you to start to understand your own body. And that is where I get the most feedback on my YouTube channel, is people saying, oh my goodness, I've just done your Pilates for fibromyalgia. I didn't realize that my hips were so tight. It was only when I did that exercise I could feel it, and now the pain's gone down. And that's what I love about it, is that you can kind of, it's like you're almost like you're reorganizing your own body to kind of put it in its most natural place, where it doesn't feel tense, where you're able to relax a little bit into it. Because Pilates is also quite relaxing. It's not easy, but it's quite relaxing because it's very kind of mindful.
Yes.
And I do think that is a big part of what makes it appealing to people, is that it can be very much, you know, you can do a 10-minute Pilates exercise or 10 minutes of Pilates, and you can just feel calmer in your mind as well. And I think that combined with the movement really does help.
Yes, absolutely, because you have to concentrate on, so you're concentrating very hard, and so the shopping list, etc., hopefully disappear for a little while, or whatever those lists may be.
Exactly.
So how do you get sort of started? Because I mean, you can see there's yoga, there's Pilates, and then there's the one with the Pilates with the machines, which looks absolutely terrifying, but looks very good.
It's very good indeed. I mean, what I would say to anyone watching this is, if you want to go out and do Pilates, then look for a certified Pilates teacher, because Pilates has become very kind of fashionable lately. And I think that's great, but it also means there's lots of people who call something Pilates, but it's not Pilates. So you want to find a certified Pilates professional. So I was certified when I did it. And what that means, with the training organization I was with, I did all the training, the anatomy. So I know all about anatomy. I know all about injuries and pathologies. I can teach on the mat, but I can teach on any of the apparatus, the scary apparatus. But it also means that I've had 500 hours of supervised practice. So it's like almost like being a chartered physiotherapist. You know, you understand the body. It's not just do this, do that. It's very specific. If you're somebody that wants to work out at home, then on my YouTube channel, I've done exactly the same thing. I've done it starting from the absolute beginning. So if you want to get started, you don't know how, or maybe you're nervous about going into a big fancy studio, that kind of stuff, then go to the channel. And on the channel, I've got Absolute Beginners, which teaches you all about the breathing, as we just did, for example. There are videos there that go up in level. So there's playlists for beginners, there's playlists for intermediate, there's playlists for people with injuries and pathologies. But what I would always say to anybody listening, don't try and jump into a class and do something advanced. Really, 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 really important is that you start at the beginning. And that's something that I've got in the book, is really starting at the beginning. Understanding how to breathe is the main thing with Pilates. And it's what Joseph Pilates always said: learn how to breathe correctly. And the reason I say that, Catriona, is because most people in day-to-day life don't breathe fully. And this is me included. When you're busy, you're at work, you're breathing quite quickly, you're breathing up here, you know, and your lungs go from here down to here. They are huge, yeah? And we don't use that capacity. The more oxygen you get in your body, the better you're going to feel, the better your muscles will function, and the better you'll feel mentally as well. So Pilates, there is a big emphasis on the breath first, and getting the breathing technique, which activates your core muscles. And then you layer the movement on top. So my recommendation would be, and I think this is good for everyone, start at home, take one of my videos, one of my absolute beginners. I've also got videos that teach you how to breathe. Okay, start with that, get that in your mind, because just doing the breathing, you wouldn't believe it, but it really does work your core. Because a lot of people think you've got to do 100 stomach crunches. No. They don't work your core. I'm just going to put this right out there now. Anyone that thinks doing this, or they've been told doing this 100 times is going to work your core, it's not. All it's going to do is going to work your six-pack muscle. That's the one on the top.
Yeah.
The core is what's underneath. And in Pilates, there's a muscle, it's called the TVA. And the TVA is, imagine it like a corset or a man's cummerbund. It starts here and it goes all the way around and it attaches to your spine at the back. And it's pretty much the muscle that keeps all your organs in. Yeah, it supports all your organs. And we do a lot of work with that. What's very beneficial about that is it works for women who've had children, because it helps create strength again in the abdominals. Anyone who's got back pain, that is the muscle you want to be working, because it's the muscle that really does support you. And the breathing we do in Pilates, and I'm going to give you a quick demo in a second, will work that even without adding any exercise.
Okay,
so shall I show you a quick,
yes.
a quick breathing? So I'm going to stand up for this, but I'm going to do it standing. Is it too light in here, or can you see me okay?
No, I can see you.
Lovely. So I'm going to go sideways. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. So this is my normal. You can see belly here.
Yeah.
All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a breath in through the nose. And then when you breathe out through the mouth, you're just going to think of just pulling your belly button in. And you'll see with me as I do that, what changes here. I'm activating the TVA. So that's all the way around here. This muscle, all the way around, is now holding you in. And what you'll often feel is a sort of a tightening internally. And that's what we want. And when you've got a strong TVA, then you're able to do standing work where you can balance on one leg. This is where core work comes in, where you can stand with just your foot in the air, because you've got a nice strong, it's the postural muscle, we call it. It's the one that really holds you up. All right, so we breathe in through the nose. We breathe out and we just draw the belly in. And what you'll see is I'm not moving my muscle, my bones. I'm just activating my muscles. So that's relaxed and drawing in, relaxed and drawing in. So that is a really good way to just kind of feel what we're trying to do there. And there's a lot more to it than that, but that's a basic outline.
But you know, it's quite complex. Just breathing, so it makes you really think about everything, doesn't it? But I think particularly, excuse me, when you have, you know, if I was going to say, if you're slightly fragile because fragile in the sense because you've got a lot of health conditions, it does make you fragile. It makes you worry. And if you can build up the strength, it does make it much easier, I think, going forward. Mental health wise as well, we haven't even touched really upon the mental health side of things. I think it's really beneficial. And obviously moving into old age, when I've noticed now I'm getting older, I am far more aware of my balance than I ever, who would ever thought about balance. And as you get older, you suddenly realize all of these things and how important it is to try to look after yourself to be able to function normally.
Yeah, I think, well, the two things that change dramatically as you age are balance and coordination. So in my on my YouTube channel, I have a playlist for seniors, which is really for anyone who's starting to worry. You don't have to consider yourself a senior. I mean, I'm technically a senior now, but I don't consider myself one. But balance is something you really have to start working on. And where the core work, the Pilates comes in, is if you are strong here and you are strong in your spinal muscles, because with our spine, the muscles go all the way up and they kind of attach into your spine all the way up to the base of your head. We're working all of those. If they're nice and strong, you're going to have that confidence. And as you said just now, that when you have a delicate health condition, I know, because I've worked with a lot of people with chronic conditions, there is a fear of moving, or a fear of falling over if someone's elderly. There's a lot of fear attached to exercise. And I think that's because traditionally exercise has been viewed as, in a gym, throwing stuff around, going crazy. but it doesn't have to be that way. This is wonderful exercise. And for me, it's a very deep exercise. You're working not just surface muscles, you're working internal muscles, muscles that are really important for your health. So for example, someone that has bladder problems, for example, that could be someone, a woman who's had a baby, could be someone who's a little bit older, a woman who's going through the menopause. All sorts of things can happen. Well, one of your core muscles is your pelvic floor, and that is incorporated when we do our breathing, as we just did, where we were pulling the TVA in. That also lifts the pelvic floor and exercises the pelvic floor. So there are things like that. I've worked with quite a lot of menopausal women who've had bladder issues, and strengthening the core has really, like, it's a game changer for people, it really, really is. And with the chronic health conditions where there's a fear that, oh, I don't know if I should move, I don't want to hurt myself, it's really, really hard to hurt yourself with Pilates. If you follow a certified teacher like myself, you start off really, really slow. I think that's a key thing, Katja, and for a lot of people, they think, oh my God, I've got to go and do an hour's exercise to feel fit. No, you don't. You can go and sit in your chair and do 5 minutes of breathing, and that is exercise. And as you said, it's about taking it slowly, building your confidence. And I found, for example, I've had women that have started on my Seniors and Gentle playlist, and these are women in their 70s with arthritis. And then someone wrote to me the other day and said, oh, just so you know, I went and did one of your normal videos and I couldn't believe it, I was fine. And that's the beauty of it, you see.
Yeah. And one of the things you said, just sitting there doing exercise. So I assume that there's a lot of the things that you do can be for people who are, who can't go and lie down on the floor and things like that. You can adapt all of your exercises.
Yeah, and that's what I've tried to do on my channel, is I put in other segments of exercise. So there's chair-based. So you can do pelvic floor work sitting in a chair. You can do work on your spine sitting in a chair. You can do the breathing. So there's chair-based Pilates that I put in there. And then I've also put standing in as well. And the reason the standing I put in is for what we were talking about earlier, is balance, because it's really, really key to be able to keep your balance. And I think about that, that's like a functional movement. So a lot of the work that I do and a lot of the work we do in Pilates is about functional work, meaning we want to help you be able to do whatever you want to do easier, whether that's going up the escalators, walking upstairs, stepping onto a bus, carrying 2 bags of shopping without worrying about falling over. I mean, it's all that kind of functional work that is key.
And also underlining, as we said, about the confidence, because if you start worrying about, well, maybe I'm going to fall, you sure as eggs are going to fall, because you're concentrating on that. But if you've got the confidence that you're strong enough, you're not going to worry nearly as much, hopefully, about that. So
and I think also, just to add finally on that point, is I try and instill in everyone through my channel that this is about having fun as well. Because I think if your mindset is, oh, like you said, I'm scared of falling over, I'm in so much pain, etc., everything's going to be scary. But if you think, I'm just going to try this for 5 minutes, see how it goes. And I try every video I do, I always say to people, don't worry about what you can't do. Look at what you just did. You turned up, you were here for 10 minutes doing a workout with me. That is a win. That's always a win. Any movement is a win. So I think it is also lowering people's expectations. Don't expect to go from here to there in an hour's workout. Or what it is, it's about trying to bring it into your daily life.
So just sort of looking at the things that we said we were going to discuss, which was the Pilates and core breathing, which we've looked at. Then the next big one, which I really think is a big one, is lower back pain. I mean, not everybody, but it is one of the most common things that we come across all the time. are there sort of are there things that we can do to prevent it and things that we can do to sort of immediately support us if we do have issues like that?
Yes, I mean, there are sort of, one thing I would say is, as my sort of a prerequisite is, if it is really painful, do go and see a health professional, because it's very important to know what is causing the pain. And if your professional says it's your age, it's just wear and tear, it's a bit of arthritis, then you're kind of fine to do what I'm about to show you. But you just want to be sure it's nothing else, because some people can have herniated discs, prolapsed discs, and I would give different exercises to those people that I would give to people who've got what I call general lower back pain. So general lower back pain often is just age related. It's what I call the wear and tear. It's often around here in the lower back. And what that can be from is sort of overwork, but also being too sedentary. So two things that are really good for that are to stretch out the back of the legs, because what often happens is people who've got pain in their lower back are really tight in this muscle, the hamstring muscle. So, and I do have videos on the channel where it's just 10 minutes of stretching the hamstrings. So you want to have a movement where you're lying down, you're just gently supporting your leg, and then you're just lifting your leg to wherever you can get it to. Most people kind of get to maybe around here and they can start to feel a pull. The long-term aim is to be able to straighten the leg and get that full stretch. Making sure you're flexible in the back of your thighs will really make a difference to your back pain. And the other one, strangely, is also because when we sit, we tend to be in this position. So it's really important to stretch your hip flexors. These are the muscles that get really, really tight when you're sitting down. Yeah, because you're always in this position. So they're always contracted. So what you want to do is lengthen them. So if I was going to try and lengthen this one, so I'll do this one so you can see it. You put the other leg forward and then you gently lean in. And the idea is I'm stretching the front of the body. Very, very important to stretch out there. And then the other exercise is to really work your back the opposite way. Because if you think we're mostly rounding forward, very important to work on extending your spine. So that's to have your hands here. And if I to add the Pilates breathing, I would breathe in to prepare. I would breathe out, I would pull in my belly, so I'm supporting my lower back. And then I'm going to try and start to lift up, but starting from the very top of the spine. So it's not a kind of straight lift here, which is going into the lower back. It's a movement slowly working, and I hope you can see that I am working my upper back right now, coming up onto the elbows. And then those that feel they can go further, you can press into the arms and you can slowly come on up, and then taking a breath in at the top, breathing out, and coming down. And what's really interesting, sorry,
I was just saying, so you're working every bit of your spine slowly, aren't you?
Yeah. Because what most people will do, if you say lift your back, is they'll do this, and that's an instant contraction here. And what we're trying to do is not use this part of our spine, but use the rest of it. Because what happens is this is our most mobile bit of the spine. So this gets overused if your back stiffens. And with age, what happens is you tend to stiffen in your thoracic spine. So that goes from here, the base of your neck, to the bottom of your ribs. And when that gets really stiff, you see a lot of women who've got a little bit of osteoporosis rounding forward, they haven't got a lot of movement there. It puts more and more pressure on the lower back. So movements going in this direction, they're the ones that are really, really good to alleviate that. Well, again, it's back to that mobility and flexibility we were talking about earlier.
And so can you correct, so when people have sort of gone sort of hunchback, because obviously there's that thing now where you've got the hunchback from being at your computer, can that be corrected and improved? Presumably
Can be improved. Yeah, it depends on the person. if they've got osteoporosis, obviously it's very unlikely you're going to be able to get the back to go back to where it was. But what you can do is you can really help improve how it feels, reduce the pain, etc. I think they call it the dowager's hump or something strange expression for it. But when you have that here, again, that's we call it text neck now, because it comes from like texting and being on your computer. But I do have there are some brilliant exercises for that. So very simple, just a retraction of the chin. So if you think this is your head forward posture, and it's getting a finger and then pulling your chin back and seeing how it lengthens through the back of the neck. Again, stretching the front of the chest.
But as soon as you do that, you pull up, you can feel yourself pulling back, don't you?
Yeah, because if you think about it, everything in our body is connected. All our muscles on this fascia over the muscles. So the minute you start to correct one, it will also change another. So I have a video which is for forward head posture, exactly that, where we work a lot on the shoulders. So if you try this is a great one. I'm going to go sideways. You can try this at your desk if you're watching. Is you put your arms out in front. You then bring your elbows back to the point where you feel the stretch in the front of your chest. And then you try and rotate back like that. And you'll feel how your whole body starts to open up at the front. You know, it changes again. It changes.
I can feel that in my back for sure.
Yes. And you can feel it in your upper back.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where you want to feel it, because those are the muscles you want to be strengthening. And you can go from here. And if you're feeling brave and you're nice and sturdy chair, you can reach your arms up and look up and then circle them out, and you'll just feel you're just opening up the whole front of the body, because this is where we tighten here and here in the hips. So anything where we're going in that direction is great for that.
I'm generally fine doing all of those things until I start looking up or behind me, you know, and then you go, oh, that's quite advanced, because your balance immediately goes as soon as you start looking. I find, because I don't think that.
Absolutely, yeah, it does. And I also think that it's being kind of mindful of your movement. So, for example, you know, I wouldn't recommend anyone just takes their head back like that, because what you're doing then is you're compressing your cervical spine. And our cervical spine, the vertebrae in our neck, are tiny. They're teeny, tiny, tiny, tiny. And as you get older, what happens is the discs, which are the lovely spongy bits in between the bone, they start to dry out and get thinner. And that happens to everyone, men and women. And which means your bones get closer together, which is where we get the bit of arthritis from, etc. A lot of people get it in their necks as well as their lower backs. So you don't want to be doing anything where you're doing this, because you're just pressing down bone on bone. But what you want to think about is elongating, almost like it's a little like a puppet. There's a string on the top of your head lifting you up. So you're creating space, and then you can be going back like so, but that's not compressing. It's a gentle movement backwards, and gentle being the operative word. Same with the lower back, is gentle mobility, no forcing, because if there is arthritis there, of course there will be pain, and you don't want the pain to be worse, you want the pain to improve.
So very quickly, we'll talk about your book in a minute, because we've got all the links available, but just what's the best way? So we all think, you know, we'll start off, Pilates, because I'm now thinking I've just got to go and have a look at your YouTube to get me going on my back. But what do you think is the best way for people to incorporate into their daily lifestyle? Because that's where you get the benefit, isn't just doing it once or twice. The benefit's doing it all the time.
Yeah, the benefit is to be consistent, absolutely. And what I would say is that's the bit where we have to start working with our own self-discipline. See, I can be here and help you as much as you come and see me on YouTube. You can, you know, I can help you with that, but you have to find a way to incorporate it in your life. And my recommendation for that is just try and start off with doing 5 minutes, just 5 minutes
Mm.
every day and get it into it being a habit. Because what I find has worked with everyone that I know is they start off small, they get into the habit, and then they think, oh, I think I've got 10 minutes today. Yeah, I could do 10 minutes today. And they go, oh, I'll go and do one of Rachel's 10-minute videos. Now I feel like ready, I can try that. And it's just go slowly and build up slowly. You've got to think of it as trying to create, it's got to become part of your life, like brushing your teeth in the morning, at night, whatever your little rituals are. Try and have it as a ritual. One of the things I do say in the book is try and find a place in your home. It can be a corner of your lounge or your bedroom, whatever, which is the place you will go to have that time for yourself where you will do your Pilates. So it may be that, you know, you'll have a mat, you roll your mat out on the bedroom floor, or you might have a spare room. You think, oh, that's where I'm going to do it. Or it might be in the lounge with your dog in the room, like I've got. Whatever it is, try and find something so it becomes a bit of a ritual. Like I have a ritual, is I have to have coffee every morning. You know, that's how it is for me. I have to do my Pilates every day. And I don't do an hour. Sometimes I'll just do 10 minutes if my time is short, because I know trying to integrate things, a lot of people will say, oh, I haven't got the time. This is where you've really got to work at finding the time and think about it is, this is time for you. This is a time for you to take care of yourself, not just your physical self, but your mental and emotional well-being as well. And just taking that 5 minutes really will make the world of difference to how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just very much aware of the time at the moment. So we've got we've got some articles with you and your links and your expert page. And in there, I think on some of them, we're definitely posting some of your most popular, because I know that you've had millions of views on some of your ones. So we'll put the most popular ones up there, because they always are a guidance as the ones that people think really work, is that to get people into it. And I think lots of people find that doing these things regularly, it puts them in their happy place, because they know when they're doing it, their mind switches off from everyday tensions, and it gives them relief. Many. So
Definitely, I think it is. It's one of those things. It's something people write to me about a lot, because I got started during the lockdown, and that's where sort of everything kind of took off. And I've now got people who've been with me since the beginning of lockdown, have said it wasn't something that they thought they would ever do, but now it's like they have to spend their time with Rachel every day. I've got a lady in Las Vegas who says to me, wherever I go, she's got 3 houses, I think Las Vegas, LA and Arizona. And she said, wherever I go, you always come with me, because a day wouldn't be right without Rachel in the morning. And this is a lady who's 78 years old.
But that's a real compliment, isn't it?
It's lovely. That's what makes me happy, is that to know that you are helping people, because that's really the reason I have my YouTube channel, the reason I do it for free, the reason it's there for anyone, is because I genuinely want to help people feel better in their own bodies, because I know the difference it's made to my life, you know. So that's why I do what I do.
And that's something that we didn't say at the beginning, and I'm sorry, I should have said that everything that you offer, apart from obviously your book, unless you're one of our lucky winners, if you're watching this at the time we've got our offer, is all available. And you know, I think what's so great as well is that having it on YouTube is that it is accessible to everybody. You don't have to go put your outfit on, make sure you look the part, which obviously you don't have to, but there is that pressure of looking the part when you go out externally to classes. There is always peer pressure. You don't have to get in the car, you don't have to do all that faffing around. You can just
you can do it in your pajamas if you want to, because I can't even see you. So so I say to people, as long as you put your mat down or you get in your chair, doesn't matter what you look like, what you're wearing. It doesn't matter if you don't get the exercise right, because that's the other thing people really stress about, is they worry about whether they've done it correctly. And you see, all of that can go out the window when you've got a YouTube video, because for example, if you're someone that has chronic pain where you get tired very easily, you can just pause or stop and just rest. You know, you can just dip in and dip out. And I think that's the key, is try and dip in every day and make it part of your daily life.
Totally. Well, Thank you very much, Rachel. It's been great to meet you, and looks like I might be meeting you most days now, moving forward.
That's lovely. I shall look
About
forward
it.
to seeing you.
And thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Bye.
Bye bye.